Welcome to another installment of My Stylish Life. This is a podcast where we share all things interior design. We are so sort of passionate about interior design and the world of interior design, and we share tips, inspiration, advice. My name is Linda Mzamane, and I'm here with my co-host,
hello guys,
interior designer extraordinaire, Bridget Meyer. And today we are talking about interior design mistakes to avoid.
Yes, we don't want to make you feel bad, guys.
We're here to help.
Just a disclaimer, but we want to share some tips with you on how to avoid making those mistakes going forward.
I've made my fair share of interior design mistakes. Okay, so, when we're all young, we don't know any better. So I think functionality tends to trump everything, so you will do things like getting oversized. I remember I was once living in like a little townhouse and I had this gigantic L-shaped couch, but the L was in the wrong direction. So then it completely blocked off my sliding door exit to the outside, the sort of entrance to the balcony, Another one I think was, this was very intentional though, but we did it thinking like, we don't actually care. When I think back to our interior project where you did our house in Vincent, we hadn't had children yet when we had made the gorgeous selections that we had made. Yeah. Everything had sharp edges.
Yeah.
The sharp edges were everywhere. Like there were zigzags all around the coffee tables and the dining table had those jagged edges.
Like
which were
decisions may evolve over time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
We were thinking about childproofing back then. And but worked out. Yeah. I think but we also, like I said, I don't think we cared. It was more about the aesthetic that we were going for. Exactly.
Yes, there were things you liked, there were things you wanted, you had your wish list.
Exactly. Yeah. But let's kick it off. What are these common interior design mistakes that people tend to make, and how can we avoid them?
Okay, so number one, I would say is, this is quite an important one. I think you have to have a vision. So you need a roadmap. And without that roadmap, it is very hard to kind of make sure that all your decisions are correlating, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
So, so if you're working with a design professional, you will always get asked for a brief. So we would sit down and we have a chat with you about, and it's not a scary chat. It's not like you're in an interview. But
just the word brief, I think as a ordinary person where you kind of feel like, I want to do some work on my house. I have a few, inspo pics that I've collected, but then you don't know, like you might not per se know, I want this and I want that. Yes.
So the whole kind of dialogue is, we ask the questions that prompts a bit of a discussion. Yeah. And then from that, we define what we call a concept. Okay. So the concept is your vision. And then all of your decisions, when we're making it across the duration of your project, it always goes back to that concept or that vision.
Yeah.
So it is critical that I believe in a project you have a vision and you go back to making all your decisions based on that.
On that vision.
So,
and also, just a point for me to make is that your vision can also be more about what you don't want than what you do want. Because I think a lot of us often know that we definitely don't want certain things more than we know what we do want.
Yes, that's the thing. I think, to say to someone, what do you want? You might not have the words to say what you want at that period in time. So that is, I suppose, the tricky thing if you're not working with a design professional. How do you correlate what you want when you don't have the words of what you want?
Exactly.
But I would then suggest, that's where I think things like Pinterest or even House, another online app, come into play, or even
creating
just
a mood board.
Okay. Save some photos, put them together, you will find a common thread of what you like or don't like, and then you keep going back to that when you're making your decisions, because sometimes things change. We kind of touched on this in a previous episode where, something that we might have chosen might not be available anymore. The tile that you had your heart set on suddenly is not in stock, or, a certain piece of furniture. Go back to that mood board, your kind of images that you have saved, and you will need to reselect something, but based off that, because I think that's where the wheels start falling off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like 6 months into a building project, and maybe something's happened. You build this, like, listen, this is not going to work here. We have to make this change. Or, like I said, the towel is now not in stock, and you're like, oh my gosh, what now? Go back to the vision. And that's when it is so important, because otherwise you'll see then the knock-ons start happening, and suddenly you're choosing this and you're not thinking of what the vision, the roadmap was, or then you'll choose something else, and then you're landing up with a project that doesn't make sense. And then that is what we say, that is your first design mistake. Unfortunately.
Okay.
So that would be number one. And then I would say, like, something that follows suit straight off that, which would be a product of not having a clear vision, is too many styles. I mean, a little bit of confusion. Is it boho? Is it contemporary? Is it, I don't know, art deco? I mean, look, there are words that we use. I don't know if you don't have to use all these words. I just want to say, I don't look at a project and say, oh, okay, well, this is in this style. We don't actually talk like that, to be honest. But you will see words like that flying around in magazines, online,
and
on
apps.
I
guess those words just help to categorize.
And I suppose, like, if you are into boho stuff, it's then easy to search according to that aesthetic, But I would say, too many in one space or one home, that's when things become really confusing.
Your house looks like it's got a bit of a personality disorder.
Bit of a patchwork quilt. Yes.
But also styles are not to be confused, I think, with textures as well. So by style, we don't mean, textures must be alike. So I know we often will encourage texture.
I will always encourage texture.
So not to be
around
confused with texture, but styles.
Yes,
just
styles.
Too many.
Yeah.
And if you do have, maybe one or two, they must be from the same almost style family, I suppose.
Yes.
If you're doing, because like monochrome
coastal
as a style lends itself to modern contemporary. Yeah. So those kind
That's
of.
That's what I'm saying. Like, to give it all these like words, we don't have to give it words, guys.
Yes.
But I think just perhaps restraint in trying to put everything that you like in one space. You might have to like plan your projects out. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that would be number 2.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3 on our list, functionality. So
functionality.
Yeah, this is a big design mistake that we often find going wrong for people. And when we discuss functionality, that's got to do with, for instance, is there enough storage in your house? You're building a new house. Suddenly
that often is an afterthought also.
Is there a linen cupboard? I mean, hello, that's fundamentally really important, but something that people forget about or don't prioritize. Maybe you have, I don't know, let's just say 10 people in your family and they come and have, bi-weekly dinners at your house. Yet you have a 6-person dining table. Functionality, that's not really going to cut it for you.
Exactly.
So it's really important to think about the function of your space and make sure that, you're ticking all the boxes. Storage.
And that it's fit for purpose.
Yeah, storage in your bathrooms, that's a really important one. Storage in bedrooms, you work from home, maybe, again, we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Have some kind of a work surface or desk.
Yes.
But
I also think a part of functionality that I think gets overlooked often is flow, right?
Yes.
So how you move through the space.
Oh, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah. So like, selecting or maybe setting out your pieces in a way that is like a natural flow through your house, or that takes into account how you move through your house. I saw this one just call it an example, I guess, of that very concept of flow and going with the flow, or kind of the path of least resistance. There's like a picture of a street corner, and there is a pathway that has been sort of built, at the 90-degree angle of that corner. But when people walk, they're cutting through the grass, and because it's just easier.
Sure.
So if that's how people flow through your house, don't put obstructions there, or not kind of allow for that flow.
It's a really important thing to actually discuss, that point, because that is a big one. Like your couch that was covering the exit to the balcony. Yes, that's, as we know, was not such a great idea.
And I mean, I suppose when you're at the shop, you're not thinking of the orientation. You're just like, this is a gorgeous couch. I love it. It's big enough.
Yes,
then you get to your space, and it's like this L and not that L. Oh,
yeah. So it's really important to bear all these things in mind, and functionality goes hand in hand, like you said, with space planning. So actually, and let's go back to that whole dining table analogy. Making sure you have the space for a 10-seater table in your home, if that's what you actually need. Making sure that there is enough space in your kitchen. I mean, there are certain guidelines that we work accordingly to on how much space you need to do certain functions in your home, and the space one needs to move around things. Like, you need certain space on either side of your bed, and doorways and passageways, and these are all really important things to consider.
Absolutely.
So just remember this whole episode, these are mistakes we're trying to avoid. Just try and remember the functionality of things. That would be one.
Another one. Okay, that was point 3.
Yes.
Point 4?
Point 4. Okay. So we're going to discuss ergonomics now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have touched on one or two things with regards to sizing before. This is when we start talking about stuff in millimeters. Again, do you remember a couple of episodes ago we spoke about the right kind of height of a table, which is 720 millimeters.
Because we don't work in centimeters in interior design, which was, I was today, well, not today years old, but I was new to this fact.
We're working in millimeters, and ergonomics is the foundation of design, actually, to be honest. A kitchen counter height is different from the height that you sit at and eat at or work at.
Yes.
A bar height is different to a kitchen counter height. And these are little things that you may inherently feel or know. So if you sit down at a table for dinner, and suddenly you're like, oh, something feels off. Why does it feel off? Suddenly your elbows are a bit higher than they should be.
Yes.
Has that ever happened to you?
I've experienced that, yes.
Yeah, that's now so something happened there. Maybe the table was made a little too high, or the seat wasn't made at the correct seating height. So these are all things that we really don't want to happen.
Yeah.
So you need to follow ergonomics.
But listen, also as the client or the person, I mean, you are not the expert, right? So that is, I suppose, when
it's a
you
tricky
rely on the contractors and to get those things right.
Yeah, your building contractor, design professional, they all know ergonomics and that things all need to be sized.
But it's just something you as a consumer should be aware of. Do these feel natural?
Yes, so maybe what we could say is just be aware of these things. If you are buying furniture or going to be doing a home reno or building a new place, sizing. Something else that you'll find a lot of, and I'm sure you've experienced this, is stairs. So treads are supposed to be a certain size. A tread is the part that your foot walks on, and then the riser is the part, the height of it. And you'll often find, has it ever happened to you when you're walking upstairs and you're like, oh, this is a really steep staircase, this just feels so off.
Too high. Or sometimes that step part where your foot lands is too narrow.
It's too narrow, exactly. So then that staircase was not built or designed correctly. So, and then that will go on the list of a bad design mistake. So just bear ergonomics in mind. Another one I want to touch on that's a really important one is your bathroom. In your bathroom, a vanity. So the vanity is what we call the counter top in your bathroom. Okay?
Yes.
The vanity needs to be a certain height, and it's usually lower than what your kitchen height would be.
And I suppose you need to work on a kitchen surface, and you know, but for a vanity, why does it need to be lower? I suppose, how does it... There's a bit of discomfort when it's a little too high.
Yes. And okay, this is the other thing. It's all dependent on what kind of basin you have. Really? So if you have an on-top basin, we work out the sizing from the top of the basin to the floor. And not all basins are the same height.
Yes.
You get like high countertop bases, like shallower countertop bases. Under counter, where it's completely in. Yes. So those, typically your vanity height is higher when it's an under counter. Yes, because I suppose it's all got to do with the movement of like washing your face and brushing your teeth. And ergonomics inherently, it's about how like the usability, like how your body, like your form uses the space. You know, I mean, we spoke about ergonomics in chairs. So those are all really important things to just remember when out shopping or planning a new project.
And sink selection can become quite a thing here. There's just so many.
No, there is. There's a lot. So it is daunting.
Square, round, something on top.
Something else to remember. Sorry, I mean, like I could go on for days about this, but like the height of your mixer. So you're in the shower. You want that to be at a certain height.
Yes.
Your shower head needs to be at a certain height, you know, for an optimal shower experience.
Do you know what? I actually, from a functionality perspective, really appreciate taps and mixers now that are not directly beneath the shower head. I love it when the mixer is like as you enter.
Yes.
You know, because
we like to do that.
Now you must now get wet and either get really burnt or frozen. When
if you can, that is something that we really like to do. So you would switch it, you'd position it so that you could turn it on when you would walk in, kind of gauge your water temperature, and then
I appreciate spaces where the mixer's like not
well
under
thought
the shower.
out.
Like,
Yes.
Okay, great. What's another point to consider?
Okay, so another one, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, is lighting.
Oh yes. We must still have a lighting episode.
We must still have the whole lighting episode.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, guys, we will have a lighting episode. Okay, season 2.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to touch on is there are many kinds of lighting. Okay, so it's not just downlights in the ceiling, guys. We have task lighting, we have ambient lighting.
What is ambient lighting?
Okay, so ambient lighting is like your mood lighting.
And
the thing that I want to get across to everybody that's listening is you want to have layers of lighting. If there's like any tip that I can give you that like stays with you, it's layer lighting.
Your lighting. Layer your lighting.
That is the hot tip. Okay. So what we mean by that is you'll have your overhead lighting. Okay, like your functional lighting.
Yeah.
So we have our down lights or whatever in the ceiling. Then you will have, say, another lighting coming in at maybe floor standing lamps, table lamps somewhere, things that you can switch on and off. We may have LED lighting, so you may have a bulkhead, you know, like where the ceiling drops, that's we call it a bulkhead. And where we have some recessed lighting within that, that can switch on and off. Maybe that's under counter TV, maybe it's behind your TV. What I'm saying is there are lots of ways to explore lighting. And that's what I really like to do, and to give a person the option of lots of lighting scenarios. So you can literally switch it up according to how you feel and how you're using the space. Sometimes you need brighter lighting, task lighting, or direct lighting, like in your kitchen. You want to be able to see what you're chopping. If you're working, you need to be able to see what you're doing. At a dressing table, you know, you might want like kind of a ring light so you can do your makeup, or some kind of a backlit mirror. You know, there's different, so task lighting. Then we'll do the mood lighting. Now suddenly you're having a dinner party, you want the lights down, dimmed a bit.
So I think you must think about the ways in which you use those spaces, and when you might want a different mood for that space. I'm thinking, for example, in your living space, you might want to have a different light feel when you are watching a movie or whatever.
Absolutely.
So you want to turn down the lights when you want to watch a movie.
Yeah.
But then you want the lights to be brighter when you've got visitors over or whatever the case may be. So think about how you use it.
Throughout the day.
Yes, throughout the day.
Yes.
And then how you want to vary the lighting throughout the day. But so what would constitute a mistake? If I can immediately think of something for me that feels like a mistake is remembering also that there is white light and yellow light. And which light you want in which space. Because in your bathroom, for example, you might want to go for a whiter light just because you need to be able to see more clearly. But maybe in your living room, you might want your light to be yellower and warmer.
That's actually a very good point to talk about. Yeah. I feel that you must be careful with that type of lighting that you choose. You also get a daylight. Okay, which is kind of... I suppose it's a midpoint between the yellow and the cold kind
bluish
of white. Yes. Sometimes like the cooler toned lighting is very harsh, and it can work in a really contemporary space and like maybe highlight things that you really need to. Whereas a yellow light might just give too much warmth, but a white light can also make something really cold and like kind of washed out. So that's something to really think about. And like you said, I think it's got to do with what space it's in. And also, like, what application. Like, is this a home? Is it an office? Is it a restaurant? You know.
Is it a bathroom?
Yes. But just going back to, like, that, what we're talking about, options of lighting lens. So the other thing we need to consider is if you are going to be now offering a lot of options of lighting, you need to make sure that your space has switches. Like the amount
in spaces that make sense, in places that make sense.
You don't want to now have like three different, so now you have like your donuts, and then maybe you have like a really beautiful pendant, and maybe you have now some LED mood lighting going around, you know, the perimeter of your room. You can't have them all in the same circuit, guys.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is they're all going to be on together or they're all going to be off together.
Yes.
You want to be able to switch it up. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now we only want the perimeter lighting on, or now we only want the pendant light, or if you want to switch 2 or 3, you can switch them all on.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we do smart homes, and that is actually another topic that I do want to unpack. With the team that we do a lot of work with, I think they'd be able to.
I'd love to talk more about that.
It's so
just
interesting.
The info and seeing what's possible with like smart houses.
It's a very cool thing to kind of delve into. But we always will create multiple lighting circuits and what we call scenes that you'll hear us talk a lot about.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll have the TV watching scene. We'll have the entertaining, we'll have the, you know, usability scene. So that's really just to touch on something that we'll really delve into a lot down the line. But lighting.
So basically the tip there is avoid using the wrong light in the wrong space, and also layer your lighting.
Like bad lighting.
Not layering your lighting is a mistake you want to avoid.
I mean, I think we've all walked into a room where you're like, oh, this is too harsh, or you know, and that's the feeling that you get. That's the mistake that we don't want to happen to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And just the last thing while we're on this topic is natural lighting. So what you don't want to do is block out the natural light. If there is a natural light source in your home, you've got to use it. You don't want to go put a big piece of furniture, like a big cupboard in front of it, like an armoire, and then suddenly, you know, you've blocked out all your lights. Natural light, it's so important to get into your home. That's just the other thing. Don't block out your natural light source.
Okay.
And then, okay.
Love that point. Okay. Another point, you mentioned rugs.
Yes. I think
what mistakes should you be avoiding about rugs?
Okay. So with rugs, something that we see often is the wrong size of rug used. Okay. And for me, this is such a game changer in an interior. You need to have a rug that is the correct size for the space so that your furniture sits on top of the rug. Okay. So sometimes you might walk into a room and the rug is in the middle, like let's say in a living space, surrounded by big pieces of furniture. Yes, and it's like this little rug in the middle that's got your coffee table on top of it. Okay. A lot of the times that's not actually the right way to do it, guys. Okay. And I know I'm generalizing here, and I don't want you to all feel bad.
I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, oh, our TV room right now, the rug is small. It literally is just for the coffee table. But how should it be ideally, and why?
Yeah, just remember, the point of the podcast is to give you tips on how to live your most stylish life.
Yes, absolutely. And we're striving towards that.
Exactly. So
teach us
one of the
something.
things, please get a big enough rug. Okay.
So that the furniture sits on top of the rug.
So if you have a big enough space, you would then go for a 3x4 meter rug. Okay. Not a smaller one. You would go for the bigger version of that. Okay. And often you'll see that just completely changes the way your whole space is perceived. It will just, you got to trust me on this, it'll just feel right.
It'll just feel more it's a feeling. Premium.
Yes.
It feels more like luxurious.
Yeah. It's just because it's the right thing to do. So,
okay, trust Bridget on this, okay?
Trust me on it. Yeah. Okay. The rug is the deal breaker. If there's anything you like, oh, I need to switch something up, have a look at your rug, guys.
Is there such a thing as too big a rug for your space?
Well, I mean, look, if it's peeking out on the other side of your couch. So, for instance, your couch is sitting on top of it and then it's still going through. Then, yes, maybe it's too big. Yeah.
Okay.
But also, I just want to touch on, you can sometimes obviously use a rug as an accent piece. So, in an entrance hall, it could be in the center of the room. And obviously, then, guys, we don't need it to go to all four corners of that space.
Yes,
so, what I'm just saying is that's something completely different. And maybe we can chat about like rugs in another episode again, and we can give you like some tutorials on what we're talking about. But just as something that a common mistake that I often see is that the rug is too small.
Too small. Okay. I think another point to consider with the rug is durability. But like you say, we'll talk about rugs, but I have to make this point that if you are going to put a rug in a high traffic area, be sure that it is a rug that can withstand that traffic.
Yes, absolutely.
Otherwise, then be prepared to just change it as frequently as necessary as it ages.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because some rugs are not meant for high traffic areas like TV lounges or whatever the case may be. Some are, more durable and they can handle all that walking around in front of the couch and all of that. But also, I used to rotate my rug a lot. If I could see that my rug is wearing out in that particular place, nothing wrong with rotating it to the other side, and just to kind of the way you rotate your mattress, just so that it ages evenly, as it were.
Yeah, give it a little bit more longevity.
Yeah. Okay. Good point on the rugs.
Okay,
next
cool.
point you want to talk about?
Moving along, let's talk about curtains.
Yes.
Okay, so we did touch on this in a previous episode a little bit, but a common design mistake that I often see is when the curtains are like hanging just above the window. Okay, so this is a trap that most people fall into.
Again, because we are functional thinkers.
Yeah, and I don't want to make you guys feel bad about it at all. No one's judging you, just saying.
But this is how you can elevate your space. That's the point.
Exactly. So another little tip would be hang your curtains from the underside of the ceiling. Okay. Even if you're buying shopboard curtains that are a certain height, maybe you can add on a piece of fabric at the bottom to increase the length of it. I do know now that some retailers are offering longer length curtains, which is great. I think they're seeing that obviously it is better to do ceiling to floor length curtain.
Yes.
But honestly, it is so transformative. It is unbelievable, and that is another hot tip I want you guys to take away from this.
Nice. But I think also another point to consider about curtains are obviously you will go and choose your track or your eyelet if you want, but sometimes what I've seen in homes is where the curtain doesn't have body. It's almost like being stretched.
Yes.
So it looks like a sheet as opposed to a beautiful wavy curtain.
Yes, that's when it's the wrong size.
or maybe the spacing or whatever. I don't know why. It's but I've seen that sometimes.
Yeah, just measure the window or the door that it's going to be going across to make sure that it is, when it is hanging, you want to have nice draping, guys.
You want to have
That's the point. Yes, you want to have nice draping. And there are lots of options with curtains. Maybe that's also something we could chat about a bit more. Let us know. Maybe you can send us a message.
Yes, drop us a comment there.
Yeah, is that something you want to get a little bit more information or more tips on? Because we can unpack curtains in the different kind of styles that you get. I have my favorite style of curtain that I like to do, because when they're closed, they just hang so beautifully.
Yes.
So, yeah, something else to consider.
Okay. Lovely. Okay. Another point?
Too many heroes.
Too many heroes. What do we mean when we say too many heroes in your space?
Okay, so guys, this is maybe one of the most important things I want you to take away from listening today. You cannot throw all of your things that you want and recreate it in one space.
Yes.
Or potentially in one home, or whatever your application is. Like, that's what we mean, too many heroes. It is something that you just want to avoid doing.
So by heroes, what do we mean? We mean like key standout pieces.
Yes. So you can't have like a feature wall in every room competing with, like an amazing piece of furniture, competing with like an amazing
art piece
or light fitting. You know what I mean? It's like too much. You need
having like a feature wall with an art piece on top of that. That's
correct. Yeah. Like, what you need to like edit it down and be like, okay, in this space, this is going to be our feature. Because what will happen? You have too many heroes, you don't have a feature. It's like
I don't know where to look.
Like an overload, an aesthetic overload, sensory overload even. What we do like to do, which I want to suggest, is we do like a little bit of contrast. We do like to layer textures.
Yeah.
We do like to layer pattern. But you've got to be clever about it. Okay, so we're not saying now we want you to create this bland interior. That's not at all what we're saying. We like to play with all those things. But you just can't have too many of your,
Yeah.
Again, we can't have your entire Pinterest board all recreated in
everything's fighting. So every space has got to have, highlights. So key moments as you look across.
Because then that's what makes it the highlight or the feature.
Yes.
You put them all, far too many things together, it's completely diluted.
I love that tip.
Yeah.
No, I think that those are amazing tips to kind of keep in mind when you are working on your spaces. You say like, this was not to judge. We are innovating.
Not judging.
We are giving advice giving you to innovate your space to make it more stylish. Because ultimately, I think, as you always say, great design is about creating comfort, functionality, and more visually appealing spaces.
Absolutely.
Is really the goal.
That is it.
So next up, guys, we are going to move into a segment called the Design Conundrum. Every week, we invite you to send us your voice notes. You can DM us on our Instagram, My Stylish Life, or drop a comment. But we like your voice notes.
Yeah, voice notes.
So send us voice notes and tell us what your challenge is, your design conundrum, and we will workshop it for you here and just kind of give you our take on it.
Yeah.
In terms of interior designer, when you are looking for a designer to join your project, should you be looking for a designer that does the style that you specifically like, or should you look for somebody whose transformations you enjoy but doesn't necessarily or generally do the style you like? Thank you.
So to answer her question, I think when trying to make a decision about who or which design professional to work with, it's like with any relationship, whether it is trying to find the right hairdresser, there is sometimes going to be a bit of a period of trial and error where you meet someone, and just because you have an initial meeting with someone doesn't bind you to now having to work with that person because now they have applied their brain in this one meeting for you on your project. So, that was the case with me. Before I worked with you on our design project, we had met with and even started working with another interior designer and felt like we needed to change tack along the way just because we were not happy with... we had some transparency issues with how they were working and just didn't feel like they understood the vision that we wanted to translate. So do your research, look into all of those interior professionals that you're looking at. Often they will have Instagram pages, they will have websites. Look at their work up until that point. What styles do they go for? And I mean, any good interior person should be able to translate your vision and be adaptable. So that's basically what I would say is just consider those options.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to say it's such a personal experience working with a design professional. So it's important that you feel like a rapport with them. And I think that is a feeling that you get, that you will know you can trust them to execute your dreams and into, this beautiful space. So it's very important to have a kind of a consultation, whether it's an online or an in-person, so that you can judge that. Because yes, a good design professional should be adaptable and should be able to design anything according to the brief. Because ultimately that's what it is. It's not imposing what my personal style is, or just because you've seen we can do X, Y, Z. It's all about taking your brief and making sure that with our advice we are giving you what it is that you came to us for.
Absolutely.
And it is such, it's a relationship that we form. I mean, a lot of the times we form friendships with our clients because you're on the phone with them every single day.
A lot. And I mean, you're dealing with someone's personal space.
You're in their home.
You're in their home. You have to understand how those people live.
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest things.
How they use that space. So I mean, it is a
very personal
relationship.
So that would be, I would think, the biggest takeaway from that is don't worry so much about the style somewhat, but just have a look at the relationship that you can take away, because it is one of trust and one of, you need to be able to gel. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we hope that answers your questions. Please keep the questions coming. You can send us a voice note on our Instagram, DM us at My Stylish Life Podcast. We look forward to hearing your thoughts. We love hearing your thoughts. And
please.
Give this video a like and a share, and tell your people about it. We want to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Wraps the episode. We'll see you on the next one.
See you soon.